Don in London, hello, and it's April the 26th, 2009, here in London, London Marathon going right now. So 26-mile slog for a few people, and I hope they make lots of money for charity. And all the causes are good. My video is all about recovery from addiction to substance or behaviour. And in the past, when a London Marathon might have been running, I might have been lying in bed still drunk from the night before. But this today, I'm full of cold. How am I feeling? Full of cold. Grateful beyond measure that I don't have a drink inside me. That's alcohol. And not behaving badly. So, addiction to substance or behaviour is the very devil to get out of, because our willpower keeps on urging us to give it up. And I can do this on my own. And what I've learned is willpower is no good for this particular ailment of addiction. Addiction requires that we keep our self-will going, and on self-will we will fail because it's always a test. And actually, if we realise that we have lost our power over our drinking or our drugging or our behaviour in a particular way which has become completely compulsive and we are unable to stop, the best way is to surrender and say, actually, I am powerless over this particular substance or behaviour, and I need help, and if I get help I can work at it a day at a time. Sounds easy to say, but it's blinking difficult to do, because it's reversing what we feel is the right path, which is our thinking tells us we can use our willpower to crack this, and we can control it. And the absolute truth of addiction is we cannot control it, and we are powerless over those addictions. So it's not a bad story, really. It might sound a bit of a concern if you're new to the concept, but most of us who have actually made it through one day and then the next day and then the next day realise that if we are in company who are not drinking, and we learn from their experience, strength and hope, that the wisdom is not to drink a day at a time and not to make life much too complicated. Make it simple again, and don't try and do too much, and don't try and evade the truth of now. And the truth of now is, for me, I don't drink a day at a time if I'm lucky. I go to fellowship to help me understand my malady and get from the problem into the solution. And the interesting thing is, as we understand what the problem is with drink and all the behaviour that went with it, we can find ourselves back in what we call our defects of character. And my primary defects are fear, too much fear, putting on a brave face, always, and not so much these days, and ego, which is quite brittle, and not using or utilising enough of the courage, faith and confidence which is available to us all, and if we are included and part of what is going on, and we share the truth of now. So, as I say, how am I feeling? Okay, got a cold? Treat it. My diabetes is playing up, blood sugar's too high, and that's partly my diet as well, and I can do something about that, just gently. Otherwise I get an overreaction to extremes, as per usual. We alcoholics go to extremes, even in recovery, of trying to get it right. So, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is the primary plank in my recovery. I had a lot of medical help and family support and community support in order to get to that place of not drinking one day at a time. And then the fellowship keeps me on track, living my life uniquely and authentically. But I go to AA meetings, and at every meeting we share the preamble to the discussions which go on. And it goes like this, and I say it because it slows me down. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So one of my primary purposes in doing this video is to help me share, to talk to myself really, and reinforce the fact that I am in recovery, and actually to share my experience, strength and hope. But I never speak for AA. I speak about my recovery and how AA helps me. And, the most important thing for me is I am human, and I can be anything on any day, and I can understand things differently as time moves along. So I'm just gaining a little bit of wisdom each day, and also making mistakes every day. So it's not all easy, and it doesn't have to be hard if we have the right attitude, which is an open mind, an open heart, and a bit of wisdom learned from ourselves and other people. And I use the two books predominantly here, Daily Reflections and As Bill Sees It. And in this book, the Daily Reflections, it covers every day it has a reading, and the action program of AA, the 12 steps, as you may have heard or be completely familiar with, is abbreviated on this little card here. 12 steps there, and then the 12 traditions on the other side. So the 12 steps are to be utilised on a daily basis. It's about action and attitude and changing our behaviour. And the traditions is about the fellowship, unity, service and recovery. So 12 steps encourage openness, honesty and willingness to see each day as it may be. And step 4 is the fear less, and I say fear less moral inventory. It's a self-appraisal of our good and bad, or rather our good and difficult, or our defects. I always stumble on defects. I always call them areas of development, but actually it's the opposite we want to develop, which is often around courage, faith and confidence. So the fearless moral inventory can seem like a daunting task if you've never done it before, but if we just gradually work through to step 4 and then onwards, we start to experience living the steps rather than theoretically understanding what they are. My intellect told me I understood what the steps were, and then my emotional character and character building, it's taken a long time to actually see how to live the steps and incorporate them into good living practices. And that's just simply having good routines and making sure I don't get too big for my boots and sharing what I know. So in the daily reflections for today, it says happiness is not the point. I don't think happiness or unhappiness is the point. How do we meet the problems we face? How do we best learn from them and transmit what we have learned to others, if they would receive the knowledge? In my search to be happy, I changed jobs, married and divorced, took geographical cures, and ran myself into debt, financially, emotionally and spiritually. In AA, I am learning to grow up. Instead of demanding that people, places, things make me happy, I can ask God for self-acceptance, or in good conscience, self-acceptance. When a problem overwhelms me, AA's 12 steps will help me grow through the pain. The knowledge I gain can be a gift to others who suffer with the same problem. As Bill said, when pain comes, we are expected to learn from it willingly and help others to learn. When happiness comes, we accept it as a gift and thank God or providence and nature for it. And simple, not for an alcoholic. And I suppose the number one fear I have is getting resentful. I remember last week I got resentful over something that happened, and I realised it wasn't the other people's fault that I felt the way I did. I felt the way I did because it reminded me of an incident in the past, or not being listened to by other people, and I got really outraged. And I swore to a couple of my friends I'd never go to that meeting again. And that happened at 1:45, and then by 1:45 I thought, what an arse. I'd better ring up and apologise, or at least apologise for my behaviour, which is outlandish and took me back to an older time when I wasn't feeling too good about me. So we learn, and I made tea yesterday, as I mentioned. Anyway, for the 26th of April, which it is today, in As Bill Sees It, and I'll say this reasonably quickly. Faced with alcoholic destruction, we became open-minded on spiritual matters. In this respect, alcohol was a great persuader. It finally beat us into a state of reasonableness. We had to quit playing God. It didn't work. We decided that hereafter, in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He would be the principal, we his agents. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new triumphal arch through which we passed to freedom. And the gift of that is, if we don't play God and just be a part of, and have our right size and our voice and our choices, we get a bit of serenity. And as the serenity prayer said, either to God or in good conscience as a plea, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. simply one day at a time.